West Virginia. Cecil Underwood one time said, Dave, and you can remember this, that you run two different ways, one unopposed and one scared. I don't think Donna has anything to worry about, do you? I think she's unopposed. And I want to make special mention of Tom Stark over there. Tom just went through an extensive campaign for the United States Congress, and I know, Dave, you know what I'm saying. This is a wonderful conservative. He always argues with me about fair tax versus flat tax, and I always tell him anything that we do is going to be an improvement over the infernal revenue system, right? Okay. But I first of all, I want to say welcome to me, to Pleasants County, to St. Mary's, first of all, to Pleasants County, second of all, to Tyler County, third of all, to Wood County, and all the surrounding counties. I remember that in 1984 that Donna mentioned, Ronald Reagan came into a county called Wood County, and I got the honor of riding on Air Force One. I got the honor of being in obviously in a motorcade. And I was sitting in the back, and there was this great big American Eagle sitting in the back of a Cadillac, by the way, American car that used to be made by private sector. And the freedom in that car was something that you couldn't imagine, because I got to sit by the great communicator, Mr. Ronald Reagan, and he was having a great time. He goes, John, you know, all my advisors told me not to come to West Virginia, but look at this. Roadways all the way from the airport, Donna, were lined. I believe the high school that we went to was lined, and it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. But I want to tell you something. Ronald Reagan was floored by West Virginia, and that's back when presidents used to not come in to West Virginia at all. Here was the man that really decided my election for me. I won 10 counties around Wood County, and I thought that was a pretty good indicator of conservatism. And I like to say every time that I'm introduced, I like to say I'm a conservative first, and I'm a Republican second. That's very important to remember. Now, how many of y'all remember General Eisenhower, who became president in 1953? Do we remember good old Ike? I grew up with Ike. Probably a lot of you in this household grew up with Ike too. But when Ike took over, did you know that we had a Republican Senate and we had a Republican Congress, and then we had a Republican president to take over for Harry S. Truman? And the first thing that the Republican Senate and Congress wanted was to lower the income tax, okay? Personal income tax. My grandmother, who was a capitalist and an industrialist, was at 90%. And so the Republicans said, Ike, would you please lower income tax? And you know what Ike said? Same thing that Obama said. No, he didn't do it. He didn't do it in 53, 54, 55, 56. I sound like buying that Cadillac out of Michigan and put it together with a 54, 55. He didn't do it all the way through. And what happened in 56, 57, and 58? We had a horrid recession. A horrid recession. Then we had a Democrat come to office named John Kennedy. And we were talking about this a little bit earlier. I was talking to a couple of Democrats back there and said that we're conservatives. And I said, I'd like to hear that. Because when John Kennedy came to office, the first thing that John Kennedy did was lower the high rate of income tax from 90 to 70. That's the first thing he did. The second thing he did was he announced that he was, are you ready for this one? Pro-life. John Kennedy and Robert Kennedy were both pro-life. They believed in small governments, lowering taxes. I'm talking about the Democratic Party here. And then we have Ted. Something went amire here, didn't it? Herbert Horatio Humphrey, who campaigned in West Virginia in 1968 for the presidency, was pro-life. But you see, after Vietnam, something switched, didn't it? And the Democratic Party switched a little bit. And it's what Ronald Reagan said a long time ago. I didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me. But I want to thank you all, because it's groups like what you are doing that make my job really easy. Really easy. And it's for your importance and the factor of importance here why David McKinley and I have a chance right now to go to Congress and go to the United States Senate. It's because of groups like you. How many of you remember my campaign for the United States Senate in 2006? Does anybody remember that? I was running on principle.